Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I want to say a big hello. I'm glad to have you here. In today's video, I'm super excited because it is finally the last painting of the sunset reeds that we've been working on for the last few weeks. So I'll go over how to do a tree line and the water. It's going to be a little bit of rough water, and then on top of that, I'm going to do all the reeds in the front, which tie in the entire piece and make it look whole. So if you're excited for that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already because there are more videos to come, and grab your paintbrushes and let's go paint.
So when I'm painting, all I do is just wipe my brush off on a little rag, and then I just continue painting instead of having to get up and clean my brush with solvent and letting them dry. So I'm grabbing my phthalo blue right now, and that is what we're going to work on the next section, and we're going to start in the trees. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of phthalo blue, and right out of the tube you can see that it's going to be a little too dark. And I use my acrylic background as sort of as a guideline. So I'm going to add a little bit of titanium white to my phthalo blue and try it again, and it's going to be exactly what I want it to be. Now I use M-gram oil paints, and I'll put a link in the description below if you want to check that out. The one that I first grabbed was the starter kit, and I really love it because for very high quality oil paints, it's very inexpensive, and the colors you get are beautiful, plus you get 2 free mediums. So it's a great deal if you want to check that out. I just added some naphthol red to my phthalo blue just to warm up this blue a little bit in the background. We want everything in the painting to look cohesive, and the way to do that is to use other paints that have already in the painting. Like for instance, I use the naphthol red in the sky. So we want to just be able to use that in all the other colors, and it will make the whole painting have color balance. So I'm going to finish up in the tree line, and I'm just going to speed it up so you don't have to sit here and watch me do this, but my technique is not going to change throughout the rest of this. So now that the blue is painted, what we need to do is blend it up into the red. I am just going to take the same blue brush that I've been using, try not to get my hand in the way, and I'm just going to lightly blend the top edge of the trees into the red of the sky. I'm not going to make it too much because I still want you to be able to tell that that is where the tree ends, but I want it a little out of focus. The reason we are taking this out of focus is it pushes it further back into the distance. It does the exact same thing, sort of like a camera will do. When something is out of focus and something is in focus, your eye doesn't pay much attention to what's out of focus. The information that it retains is still present, so it knows the setting that you're still in, but it isn't going to be the main focus. It isn't going to be what your eye is drawn to. So when we put the reeds in front, those are going to be sharp and in focus, and they're going to stand out so much more. And that's what we're trying to achieve in this painting. I'm just going to speed this up again, just so this will go by a little bit more quickly. I really love trying different brushes when painting, just because a different brush might work better for what I'm trying to accomplish. If you don't try a bunch of different brushes, you may never know that, and you might be struggling with this one brush, hoping that this is going to be the brush that works, even though it may be your favorite brush. It may not work for exactly what you're trying to do. So I'm going to start working on this right here. So I'm going to get some dark color, which is a little bit of burnt umber, and I'm going to add it to the blue that we were working on in the trees. Again, this is just so color balanced, so everything looks like it flows. So now all I'm doing is taking that color and covering up all the dark acrylic on the tree line and then slowly blending the blue and the dark color together. So far, I think it's going great. I really like the transition from the dark blue into the light blue. I am still going to have to do the red on this side because it started to dry and I had to remix the colors, so I decided to wait. So we will do that now. So I'm going to grab a little bit of my azo yellow and phthalo blue because right now, the sun shining through these trees, if the sun is yellow and these trees are going to put off that bluish tint, on a color wheel, those two colors make a green. And right at the top of some of these, that's where those two colors mix, making it look like that's a greenish color. And it's probably also a little bit of the tree shining up too. So we're going to create more of like a greenish color and just dab just every now and then. And that's dabbing is going to make it a little bit of a fuzziness, and that's exactly what we're looking for in this background. To make that transition a little bit smoother here, I took a little bit more of that red color, the sky, and I am blending it a little bit with that green color that we had just laid down, and blending them back and forth just a little bit in that little tiny section is going to make that blend a lot smoother, and that's what we want. We don't really want any harsh transitions in the background. If you missed how I did the whole sky and sunset and how I made these colors, I will have a card pop up right here, and I will also leave a link to that video in the description below. So now that we're finally finished with that, I'm going to grab a new brush because we're going to do the lighter color underneath the sun in the trees. And we're going to grab some titanium white. And titanium white is such an opaque color, which just means that you can cover up something with it dark and it won't shine through. It's the opposite of a transparent color, which you can see through. Transparent colors are really good for glazing. And I have a whole video on glazing. I'll have a pop-up right there if you want to check that out and learn what it means to glaze. So I'm just going to add some of this naphthol red and a little bit of the azo yellow to my titanium white, and just a little bit. And then we are going to add it to this little part underneath the sun. The sun is so bright that when you look at it, things around it kind of take on that color. And so that's why there's that. It's kind of a little awkward looking right now, but we're going to blend it in, and that is what is going to help make the sun look more intense. This is the reference photo that I'm using, so you can see where I'm getting these colors and this idea from. We're now going to start working on the lake. So I'm grabbing some phthalo blue, and I'm going to grab a little bit of titanium white in that just to lighten it up a little bit. And when I'm mixing larger amounts of paint, I like using my palette knife for that, just so the paint doesn't shove up into the furrow of the brush. I was experimenting with two different colors and figuring out which one I liked more. I had one more on the blue side and one more on the green side, and I decided that I really liked both those colors, but I just wanted to mix them together. So one of them, I took that blue color that I mixed with the titanium white and I added a little bit of the azo yellow to it, which gave it that greenish tint. And I really liked that, so I just mixed that in with the phthalo blue and the titanium white mixture that I made before. And the mix that came out I really loved, so that is what I'm going to go with. Having a straight horizon line is very important when working with any body of water. Anytime it is a little off, your eye is going to notice that. So what I just did right here was I measured both sides up to where they were exactly even, and then I'm just taking a ruler and making a straight line all the way across, just so I know that the horizon line is going to be level. Actually, it was pretty good. I wasn't very far off. The water in the back right here is going to be desaturated but still dark. So there's not going to be too much blue. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a lot of my burnt umber and mixing it with that bluish green color that I mixed a little earlier. And I'm going to even make a little bit more because this tree line in the back is going to be reflecting onto the water. And so that's why we're going to make that water back there just a little bit darker, and then as we come forward we'll add more and more blue to the water to make it more saturated. In order to keep color balance throughout your painting, we want to stick with the same color. Because this is all the same lake, I'm going to take that background color and I'm going to use it in the foreground, and I'm just going to adjust it a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit more titanium white and I'm going to add a little bit more phthalo blue the closer we get to the viewer. So if you haven't figured this out yet, these two dark spots right here is where the water is crashing over, and everything in between, all these flat spots, is going to be on the surface of the water where the sun is reflecting off of. Now I'm starting to create the little waves inside this lake. So I've got my blue color that I've been using, and I added a little bit more of yellow to it just to show that these waves are a lot thinner, and they're not going to be as deep and dark as the three big waves are. And right now I'm using a filbert brush to get this kind of like an oval shape for these little waves that go on. And once this dries, we'll go back in with a lighter color and go over top and refine these waves a lot more. I'm going to start working on the sun reflection off the top of the water now. So I am mixing my Naphthol red and my Azo yellow together to get this orangish color to kind of match the sky, because that is what it's going to be reflecting. And closer to the sun right here is gonna be a lot more yellowy, and it's gonna fade into kind of more of a greenish color. So I'm gonna start this orangish color that I mixed about right here in the middle somewhere and bring it more towards the sun area. And at the moment I'm not gonna worry too much about blending any of this together, because once I start blending this orangish yellow into the blue, my color on my brush is going to start to be compromised, and I want to keep the middle section of this really bright and beautiful, and I don't want to mess up the reflection on the surface too much. So I'm just going to be getting the main part of the color down on canvas, and then we're going to go back in and we're going to slowly blend in where we need to. We're going to start making the intense color around the main reflection of the sun, and in order to make that more intense, we want to darken just a little around it, just like we did with the red clouds around the sun. So I've switched to a small round brush, and I've added a little bit more more Naphthol red to my color, and that's creating a deeper reddish orange. Now I'm going to start blending some colors together, and we'll see what it turns out to look like. Now I'm going to start to do this section right here because it's the next lightest section. So I'm just going to take the color that we were working on before, and I'm going to add a little bit of titanium white to that just to lighten it up a little bit. I'm going to paint around the dark little waves that I've already painted before, and then we're going to blend them together. We're going to start to move closer to the viewer, so we're now going to work on this middle flat part of the wave right here, and we're going to take the same color that we used in the foreground, this yellowish orangish color, and we're just going to add it in between the greenish blue of the crest of the waves. I'm adding this a little bit darker orange next to this bright yellow because right here it'll make it stand out a lot more, and it'll just be very subtle, but your eye will start to notice that. So I'm just going to take a very little bit of my Naphthol red and I'm mixing it into my azo yellow with a lot of titanium white. And I realized that this color that I'm mixing is going to differ from the acrylics that we first put on the canvas. The acrylics have more of an orange tone, but that orange tone is still going to show through this yellow just a little bit. It's just tinting it. And that is going to help create some depth into this painting that you may not realize you're seeing, but that your eye is going to pick up. All we are doing right now is just covering up the acrylic underneath. We're making this entire painting strictly oils. And when I blend, I just hold further back on the thing, on the paintbrush, and I just use the tips. And I just go back and forth like that with the tips. So I went to Walmart and I just found this really inexpensive brush, but these bristles are really soft and they're going to be perfect for blending in this water. So all I'm going to do is very lightly just go up and down and then side to side, and we're just going to blend these back a little bit. I'm just going to continue that. I'm going to use that color and I'm going to go into this blue right here, and then I'm going to do a little bit on this one right here, and then we're going to blend it, and we're going to keep doing that over and over, because the more you can do it, the more depth you create to your waves. Although it may take a little bit more time, that little bit of extra time added into things, a little bit more patience, can create a lot of depth that you might lack just going over it once. When you're working with water, you're going to want to go from dark to light and light to dark. You want to go back and forth between the colors. So as you saw, I went in and I put light over the dark, and then I came through and I did that dark blue color and I kind of brought it into the light, and now I'm going back in with the light color, and I'm going over the blue again. So we're going to keep doing that transition until we get all the little waves that we want created. And that is honestly how easy it is to create water with waves in it. I'm just using the same colors that I was using when I created the sky. If you haven't checked that video out yet, the link is in the description below. And all I'm doing right now is just re-going over it. I want the sky to be a lot smoother, and it's very smooth right now, but I'm just going to add just a little bit more layers on top of it, just to smooth it out just a little bit more. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. We're now going to get into the detail of the water. Now I've switched to a size 1 round brush, and that will be able to make everything look a little bit more realistic. The further back we go, the thinner the lines are going to be. So a small brush like this is going to enable me to create smaller and more realistic detail. We are finally at my favorite part. This is the part where the final touches are going on, and this is going to make the entire painting come to life and make sense. What I have now are the little reeds that are going on, and I have that same size 1 round brush because it makes such a very fine line that I love this brush. And what I've done is I've got some ultramarine blue and raw umber, and I mix those two together to make a very dark color. It's almost black. And then I thin it down with some walnut oil so it flows on the canvas a lot better. And all I'm doing is creating these little lines with the reeds at the top. And I'm going to do that across the rest of the painting, and you will finally see the end of this painting. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If there is anything else that you would like me to elaborate on, please leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the little bell so you get notified every single time I upload a new video. And make sure to like it. And I will see you all in the next video. Guys, have a wonderful day. Bye.